Hello, and welcome to this week's reading vlog. I'm Jen, and we are going to start off this week reading Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm actually already 200 pages into this, so I decided I better stop and get this vlog started because I have a feeling that this book is just going to fly by and I'm going to be done before I know it. So Dungeon Crawler Carl was originally self-published years ago, but it is making a resurgence because it is getting traditionally published. And a coworker of mine years ago loved these audiobooks, and I have seen a lot of recent recommendations on the audio, so I am listening to this as well. This is a LitRPG, which basically means it's a video game in book format. So Carl has found himself forced into a dungeon with his cat, Princess Donut, and they're having to go through these levels. And I don't know how many books this series is going to wind up being, but I think there are at least 7 so far. And so I'm interested to see if this is a series that I want to carry on with. The question I would like to answer this week is, should you read Dungeon Crawler Carl? Is it good for the masses, or who is this for? I am really enjoying it so far. There is a lot of humor. There's a lot of video game humor, but also it's just a really good time. So I'm gonna continue reading this, and I will be back with an update once I am further in. I am now 320 pages into Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I stand by my original assessment that this is a very fun read, but there are a couple of things, non-spoiler, that I do want to talk about. One of them is when we first begin this book, we are thrown into the world of Dungeon Crawler Carl, meaning Carl and Princess Donut are pretty much shoved into this video game dungeon environment, and we don't have a lot of time to get to know Carl or Donut before they're in peril. And so I have a hard time caring for them deeply. I mean, honestly, I'm rooting for them and I'm hoping they don't die, but there have been times where I've thought, if Carl or Donut were to die, I would pretty much be like, oh, darn, I hate that happened. Like, I wouldn't be crushed emotionally. I don't think that there is really anything very emotional that will come out of this first book for me. So this isn't really a character-driven work, even though we really are following Carl and Donut. There's not a lot of things going on outside of just this really fun world. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is when we are thrust into this world, again, it's not spoilers, it's, page 2 material. It is very much like a video game, so we're getting like power-ups and stuff, and there are these announcements that happen. And in the beginning, it's very announcement. You have this legendary loot box. Announcement, you have this gold weapon box. And it can come off as very overwhelming or maybe even annoying, especially if you're listening to the audiobook, which the narrator does do a very fantastic job, but it's pretty rapid fire because it's simulating a video game. And what I want to stress is, don't let those pop you out of the story. Don't let those announcements be what makes your decision if you're going to keep reading this, because those announcements do quickly become part of the world building, the humor, learning how not just the game is played, but also how the game is made. And so I just wanted to stress, since those happen so early on and so often, to try to push through those before you make a decision, because this really is a very fun time. There is so much humor. I'm hoping to make it through the rest of this here pretty quickly. We will see if I want to carry on with the series and if I feel like you should join me on that journey as well. I owe you some updates. It has been several days since I posted my last clip of Dungeon Crawler Carl, and as you saw, I did finish, and it was a very fun time. At the end, I did have a bit of an emotional connection to the other players that were playing with Carl and Princess Donut. I think as this series goes along, I will have more and more of a connection to Carl and Donut as well. The one big question I had is, should you read Dungeon Crawler Carl? And unfortunately, that answer is a little bit complicated. I'm personally landing on a 3.5 stars. So if you are the type of reader who a video game simulation type story sounds very fun, then yes, absolutely, you're going to have a great time, especially with the audio. If you are someone who hasn't tried audio and you've been thinking about trying audio, this might be a good one to start with because it is very engaging and the narrator is fantastic. If you are somebody who you're very unsure that you would like to read something like this, you could probably skip it. I judge a lot of books by whether or not I would recommend them to my mom. She's an avid reader. She taught English and she has very similar taste to me, but this isn't something that I would recommend to her. So I think it depends on your taste. I was hoping with there being so much hype that it was a book I could come on and say, hey, this is going to be fun for everyone, but it really is a niche for people who want an adventure type story and are into things like video games and understand the culture and the humor. So yes, I absolutely recommend it, and I am going to be continuing on with the rest of the series, but I'm not widely recommending it to the masses, and I think that makes sense. So, like I said, it has been several days. After I posted my last update, I was down with a days-long migraine, and I had to miss work, and whenever I went back to work at the end of the day, I honestly was not filming or anything, but I did get to read some in the last couple of days, and I randomly picked back up Children of Ruin. I was probably about 100 pages into this. This is the sequel to Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I think Children of Time is probably his most popular book. I think by now everyone who's familiar with Children of Time knows what the sentient beings are on that planet, and it's basically a story about humans trying to leave Earth and find a planet that is habitable, and they did some terraforming ahead of time that had consequences, and it's a really good book. And I have read Children of Time twice, and I think the first time I read it was before this one was released. And when the reviews came out of this one, they really made me believe that this was such a loose sequel that it was hardly connected to Children of Time, and that was the complete wrong impression, and I think that's why I put off reading this one for so long. But my first impression when I started this was it's very much a sequel. Like, surprisingly, even now when I see and hear reviews of this, I feel like this is very much a direct sequel. But on the other hand, I wasn't getting very sucked into this in the first 100 pages, so I put it down for a while, and when I picked it back up this week, it got creepy, and scary is my favorite, and I got really sucked in, and I'm now over 300 pages in, and I'm really enjoying this. So unexpectedly, I'm going to be reading this book this week, so I will let you know how this continues to go. The book I was planning to read is The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst, and I am 60 some odd pages, 70 pages into this, and it is super cute. The main character has been forced out of her village. She's a librarian, and she journeys to her cottage that her parents left for her, and she is starting a life in this place that she left when she was very young. And her companion is one of the cutest companions I have ever read. It's in the description, but I'm gonna leave it be because I didn't know much about this going in other than it was a really cozy fantasy, so I'm not gonna go much further into this than that as well, because it is such a cute read and I'm really enjoying it. So I am going to be reading this one as well, along with Children of Ruin, so expect some updates on both of those as we go along in this vlog. It is the end of the week and I owe you some updates. There's a few things that I want to talk about. One being that I had 2 book hauls from this week that I need to catch you up on. The first one, I went to get Once Was Willem by M.R. Carey. My Barnes & Noble showed in their app that they got in a copy, so I went to pick that up and I could not find it anywhere in the store. I had an employee come help me. He could not find it either. Eventually, he put in an order for me, but I'm a little concerned as to whether or not the store is going to ship an item that they show in inventory already. So while I was on that trip, I got With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. And this one, somebody brings a bunch of murder suspects onto a train, and we have to figure out who the murderer is before the train reaches its destination. And that's the only book that I got the first time I went to Barnes & Noble. By the end of the week, I still hadn't heard anything, and my husband and I were off early for the 4th, and he suggested that we go eat at our favorite restaurant and go see if we could find my book. And we didn't have luck finding the book, but I did have a really cute encounter when I first got there. There was a man who was standing in the Sci-Fi section, and when I came around the corner, he said, "Let me step back and get out of your way." And I was trying to see if he worked there or if he was just shopping. He had a fanny pack, so I didn't know if he had a walkie-talkie. So I asked him, "Do you work here or are you just shopping?" And he said, "I'm just shopping, but what do you need? I can probably help you." And I just felt that to my core, right? As a book lover, you feel like you can always help somebody that is looking for something to read, or you're so immersed in the book world that, hey, maybe I can help you. And it was really sweet. I told him, the predicament we were in, and he suggested that I look in young adult science fiction and fantasy, but I had already tried to look there as well. And so anyway, that was really sweet. And I did pick up some books while I was shopping so hard for Once Was Willem. And the first book that I picked up is Freakslaw by Jane Flett. This is actually a book that my bestie Laurie is really looking forward to. One of her favorite books of all time is Geek Love, and this one is being compared to Geek Love. It is a carnival type horror story, and we are going to be buddy reading this in August with the Horror Spotlight Discord. I'll leave a link to the Discord in the description below if you want to join us. And another book that I was really excited to see is The River Has Roots by Amal El-Mohtar. This is half of the co-writers of This Is How You Lose the Time War, and I recently read that and really loved it, and I feel like this is going to be another beautiful novella, so I'm just really excited to read this one and see what it's about. And another book that I picked up that honestly I probably didn't need is Carl's Doomsday Scenario. This is book 2 in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I am going to pick this one up on Audible as well because the audiobooks are so fantastic. And I don't actually know what this one is about other than it's a continuation of Dungeon Crawler Carl. In the first one, Carl and his cat are thrust into this intergalactic game show where they're in a dungeon and they have to beat these mob bosses and make it to the end of the level. And I guess this is the second level that we have to survive, and it's just really fun. I'm just looking forward to having another fun escape type of read. And then the last book I picked up is probably the only one in this list that I really need, but that is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. I'm a Grady Hendrix fan, and I'm a big horror reader. I assume this is going to wind up winning the Goodreads Choice Award for horror. There's a whole list of reasons that I need to read this. At the top would be that I really want to read it, and I haven't had a chance to pick it up yet this year. I tried to stay a bit blind as to what this one is about, so I'll probably read this one for Summerween, so that's coming up extremely quick if I can get my act together. My kids are having a sleepover, and they are playing something like Super Smash Brothers at the moment, so I'm going to need to wrap this segment up pretty quick because they are going to continue to be loud. So that is all that I got on my shopping trip. And as far as reading, yesterday was July 4th, and we were thankfully just super lazy, and I got another 200 pages read of Children of Ruin. So I am 500 pages in, and like I said, my kids are having a sleepover, so I'll probably get to sit down and read this for a bit. It would be really great if I could finish this tonight, and then maybe even the Spellshop tomorrow. So that's where I am, and I will talk to you here in a bit. Good morning. It is 6 a.m. The entire house is asleep, and I want to spend my morning reading, so I wanted to give you some updates. It has been a week, and when I say that, it literally has been a week since my last update. So I finished reading Children of Ruin, and I'm so glad that I read this. I mentioned before that I didn't think this was going to be a direct sequel to Children of Time, and it absolutely was. And I wish I hadn't waited so long to read this, because I really did feel like I was back in this world and with these characters and with the whole concept of sentient beings in space. I've been trying to think this week on how to explain why this is only a 3-star, because I feel like people think 3 stars is a bad rating, and it's not. 3 stars is good, and I really can't come up with a very objective answer. I will say that even though I love Children of Time and I've read it twice now, I do only give that one 4 stars, so maybe that kind of puts it into perspective. We are following the characters a lot more than the sentient beings. I'm not sure that that's really what makes it a 3-star book for me. It may be the fact that there's so much to understand and so much to wrap your head around. I feel like maybe I was understanding what was being said and the general concepts, but I couldn't really wrap my head around the depth of what I was supposed to be grasping here. And so I think it was a good read. And like I said, I'm really happy to be back into this world, but maybe I'm not blown away by the real depth of the concepts because I haven't been able to wrap my head around it. And I don't want that to put anybody off from reading it, right? Like, I'm going to be reading The Children of Memory, which is the 3rd and final book in this trilogy. It's just ultimately that's where my rating lands, I think. So I have also been reading The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst, and I am 289 pages in, so I am quite a ways into this, and I am absolutely loving this one. It probably took me to the second half to actually fall in love with this book, but at this point, this might actually wind up being a 5-star read for me. The characters are so great, and the relationships that they're all building is so great, and the witchy feel to this was unexpected, even though it's called The Spellshop. I know I went into this totally blind, only knowing it's a cozy fantasy, but there's a whole witchy element that I just really like the vibes of. I really like the vibes of the love of books and the love of reading, and our main character and her assistant are librarians, so knowledge and books are held above everything. This village is really a community, and these friends are found family. I don't know if you can hear that. My cardinal is cheeping really loud. I'm going to see if I can get some video of him, and I'm going to spend my morning trying to finish reading this. And I'm so sorry about the lighting. I know it's really dark, but everyone's asleep, and I just really want to cozy up and finish reading this today. So I will see if I can get some video of the cardinal real quick. I feel so bad I scared him off. I'll try to get some video if I hear him come back, but I'm thinking that maybe we saw the sunrise through these windows while I was talking to you this morning. Anyhow, I'm going to go read The Spellshop, and I will let you know how it goes when I'm done. I finished reading The Spellshop, and I am going to give this one 5 stars. It was a perfect cozy fantasy read for me. I can't think of anything that I would add to this. This is such a great way to end this vlog. If you have made it this far, thank you so much. Please leave me a cat emoji for Princess Donut. And while you're down there, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.